When we start. Okay, it's 6 p.m. I'll call the meeting order for the Upson County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, October the 22nd. Looking around the room for Mr. Searcy, would you mind, let me put you on the spot and do our invocation tonight, unless there's another minister in the room. All right. Appreciate you doing that for us, and we follow with our pledge.
Let us pray. Lord God, we just come to you right now. Thank you for another opportunity to come before you, Lord God, with the business of this county. We are thankful for the officials that you have set before us. We're thankful for the people that have come out, Lord God, and we ask that knowledge will be shared on things that may be in question, God. But most of all, we ask that you'll be the one to lead and guide this meeting. We ask that any disagreements come into a way that they can be agreeable. And we ask, Lord God, that everything we do be pleasing and acceptable in your sight. With these and other blessings, we ask in the mighty name of Jesus the Christ, we do pray. We did say amen.
Amen. Join the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Gentlemen, before we start, I need to update or ask for a change in the agenda. If we could add a discussion possible approval of resolution for Operation Greenlight that last year to discuss real estate. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor? Make those public hearings. All right. First public amendments, an ordinance of Upson County to amend the code of Upson County to amend the AR section of the county zoning ordinance. Minimum lot size and width, increase setbacks, depth rate, rural district to establish accessory dwelling, providing for repeal conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective. Is there a motion? Ms. Jones?
Mr.
Well, it's open. Okay. Okay. Zoning text amendment. So, before we do this, let me just say this. I mean, you know, we're going to have a discussion after the public comments, and it's kind of like counterintuitive. I mean, that is the house that you had, you know. So I think some of the stuff that will be brought up may be answered in your presentation later. Would there be? Would y'all want to do like we've always done? There's. Well, let's just do it that way. That way, if y'all hear statements made during public comment, try to answer those questions as we go forward. I mean, because we don't allow for a lot of back and forth. Anyway, so and all up on the list here to make comments. Hopefully, you know, if you have questions, you have comments you have during the staff's presentation to this. So as come up here, and I think X's are still on the floor. Step up, state your name and your address for the record, and again address your comments to the board through the chair. Smith, Wes Smith.
Wes Smith, 310 Magnolia Avenue. I have zoning for agriculture. Before all this was put.
Yes, sir.
Who did you talk to?
Well, did we? There were. Yes. Anyway, your comments.
All right. To me, 12 acres for a house is inefficient. County I've lived in before, and AR, and we were on wells and sediments, was 1 acre of land. You're moving way past efficient land use. We got farmland leaving all the time. 12 acres, you're going to end up with a lot of grown up land because folks ain't keep. The other thing is the 2,200 square foot house of mine. I don't know many young folks that can afford a 2,200 square foot house. Myself, I've had one. I don't. I'd rather. There's some things y'all really need to look at. The 22 house, you're bumping $500,000 out of. The thing is poultry houses at 12 acres. Are you sure you can put a poultry house in on 12 acres? And it was set up so far off the road and so far off the line stream.
Thank you. Mr. Blackson.
Rusty, Brady, 7 Road. Gentlemen, I know I'm not supposed to ask questions, but all these planning board or who? Fight off all of these 100 and something revisions here, like Mr. Smith said, well, you house on a 12 acre, the county setback was 600 or 700 foot off the road. You've got feet off property lines. You got to be so far away from streams. You can't get one chicken house on 12 acres now legally. Another. If I want to give my grandchild 5 acres of land, do that. He won't do that. Then he's got to get it rezoned. If it's already agricultural residential, why does it need to? Another way to get some more money. Why would you want to require a child to have to build a 200 square foot house on 3 acres of land? When the normal square footage of a house is what, 1,000? But yet, in 3 acres, it's got to be 2,200 square feet. There's a lot of looking over anything from church steeple height to you name it. I think this is too big of a to make one vote on and go. Thank you.
Mr. Marcus South.
Marcus South, 815 West Crossing, Thompson. We're not going to questions, but I've got to lay the question out there. These y'all, is he the one that's coming up with these that y'all got to pass? How's this going to work? Because I really feel like that we are shoving this the taxpayers' throat. I think we need to think about this down our throat, and if it's coming from somebody to build his own, top things that are not even in the community. I feel like that the concern that I have shame on any of y'all if y'all pass, because all we away from everybody. All we doing is restricting people use, land use. You know, we're taxpayers, it's an agricultural community. I mean, it's going to be here, and it's just going to affect things in the long term. And I just think it's a shame that all these restrictions and all down the taxpayer. I mean, before earlier, I've got children. I think there's going to be with the land to be able to build on that many acres. And if I, I think we're restricting. You're taking our freedom away, and I just hang on if we pass this.
Mr. Fowler.
File 120. I got a lot of concerns that was handed down through generations. The minimum to build was 2 acres. So I just found I got a phone call. I got 3 kids, one of them there, that I was on this land. So now you tell me I gotta have 12 acres of land to do that. Survey, I met with a surveyor this morning, wasn't surveyed. Wasn't cut out a 5-acre lot to build on. I didn't know. But as far as all these rules and regulations that you're revising right here, it sounds like to me, different places I've worked, Coweta County being one of them, that's where this stuff is projected. This is not Coweta. And that's all I got to say.
Ms. Fowler, I guess. Say what you want. Taylor? Mr. Dan Brew.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Dan Brew. I live at 678 Fire Tower Road in the western part. I ride to oppose the text amendment. I agree with the others about being able to pass land down to your family without we'll have spot residential all over the county. Also, I'm a Republican. If most of you don't know that, I believe in limited government. Republicans believe
Chair.
what this legislation text does is takes away the freedom and the rights of all the citizens of Upson County. All right? I'll be creating rules, laws, ordinance that restrict our. I understand town rural identity. We use that anonymous survey comprehensive plan. Very few people took it. I took it. I said small town feel. I want, but I don't. This. We quote it often. Do not follow it often. Converted active agriculture to other uses, no other land available to accommodate non-agricultural uses. That's straight out of the comprehensive plan that we so often refer to. However, we have seen more than once people come before this board and change, right? Some 57 acres out where I live just got changed from AR. Full citizens. Hey, do not take any decision to rezone would eventually wind up at commission. It's going to be in plan come here. Why make every citizen in Upson County when you can simply keep things the way they are? The developer come here to do what your citizens want you to do and say no. Thank you for your time.
Okay. All right, that's it. Motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Okay. All right. So, how do you want this process to go through? I mean, what are you about to do here? I mean,
Well, I'm going to give you just some very, I can go over
from what?
from what we heard tonight, and then the rest of it, well, let me go into the sort of the process where we are right now. This is a start meeting, so the public has tonight formally to adopt it next meeting or the second meeting in November, adopt it or put some flex.
So before that, so I think several of the points that were brought up tonight, the question is, how did we, all right, what got us here? And I think in fairness to the people that are, we need to talk about that. And so, I mean, I'm gonna lean on you right here. I think these people, I mean, Doug, I want you to add to the two and ourselves. I mean, so we got here because of, I mean, that our community drastically. It's changing. I mean, a lot of us grew up here, lived here our whole lives, right? Some of us left being gone. You look around and don't think sitting up here thinking right now, well, he's this down our throat. I mean, why we got to this point. And I'm sitting here and going to tell you right now, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're speaking passionately. And my question to you is, where you been? Where you been? We've had these discussions, Jason. How it started back
December 23 specifically about this process.
Okay, you know, we bought wood coming on as
Now, W. Wood.
so we bought consultants to address the problem that we're all seeing, right? You know, some of the challenge we see as we're growing is, you know, I mean, flag lots, you acres, and you get out here and you get, you know, our current says you have to have what, 30-foot access to roads. So, you know, you got a driveway, you go here, you got your 2 acres, it's still zoned AR, and you can build your 1,008 square of it. It's not necessarily all 1,000, but anyway, so that's what's happening. So, is that really the way you want your community to develop? That's cheap way to, yeah, 1,008 square. I get it, you know, the price per square foot to construct homes. So, at the way you that crop your farm, you've been out there, you want somebody to do that. On the flip side of that, if that's what you want to do, sit up here and say you can't do it. We're just all this is what this is all being is that there needs to be a plan for how we're growing. You know, if you know, so you know, example all the time. We've got about this. We've said it to ourselves during these meetings. We've had numerous work sessions on this. We've had meetings on this. We you know, and we put public hearings out. Comp plan was a big part of this. You know, how do we want this community grow. I mean, we've got people, and you've heard me sit up here and say it, people are coming down here, they've got their checkbooks out, and they're coming up and they're buying, $11,000, $12,000 an acre. And, all it says is, okay, it's AR, and they can build 1,000, they can pay $10, $11, $12, $15,000 an acre, and they can put 1,000 square foot home on there. And I get it. Many of you think that's okay. And I may or may not disagree with you. It just, is that what if you're sitting there, so the example I use, and this is all about having this discussion. So if you sit there, you come back home, you've been doing whatever, and you come back home and you've saved and scrimped, and you buy your 12 acres. How are we going to, if this is what we're going to do, if we're going to let it go, then just let it go. And what this stuff pops up all around you, then say, well, hey, we had these discussions. And that's what this is about. This is about having these discussions. And it's great that we finally have something on paper that has sparked some enthusiasm, for lack of a better word. We want this enthusiasm. We want this discussion because we've had how many meetings where we put this stuff up? And I get it. Hey, I'm going to hear all the discussions. Well, you had them while I was at work. You had them while I was on vacation. Yeah, we've had them. They're there. This stuff is on the website. It's there. And I get it. The comp plan is a guide, right? You elect people to sit up here and use those guides to make the best decisions possible, right? That's what this is. So I say all that. What got us here? It's years of discussion, years of work, years of public citizen engagement. So so now we're at the point where we're saying, okay, we're going to do something here. So I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're enthused, and we'll work through it. And so we're going to go through and have these and try to hit some of these questions. I said some of the things I wrote down. I think there needs to be the distinction between a chicken house and a poultry operation, right? That's definitely in there. If you come down here and buy your 12 acres and you want to have your mini farm, if you want to raise some chickens, you can raise some chickens, right? There's a difference between a poultry operation and the setbacks and everything that's required for that than that. 2,200 square foot for home. We had to put something on there. That's why we're here. If it's too much, tell us it's too much. 12 acres. I got you, but again, this is not a. So what's that number? Not, this is the first public hearing. So what we want you to do is listen to this. We're not doing anything tonight. The goal tonight is this is us to sit down and say one more time, hey, this is the direction we're thinking. We need your input, and and I'm sure others have more notes. I mean, one comment made was have the developer come in and get the rezoning. We're not being overrun with developers. It's private citizens coming to have their land. I want to deed land to my siblings or whoever. And there's nothing in here that says you cannot do that. There's a fear out there. I mean, I heard it coming in the door today. What do you mean I can't give my son or daughter land? Well, you absolutely can. We're just saying that, if you're going to give them a 2-acre tract of land, there's going to be some guidelines on what they can do there. Again. So those are some things, that are out there. Nobody's trying to shove anything down anybody's throat. I get it. I get there's a philosophical thing here. But again, we are as a community, we're growing. And if you either grow in a way that you control it, it's like a flood. You can't stop the water from going where it's going to go eventually, but you can kind of control how it gets there, right? Within reason. So that's my philosophical thing. But this thing has been discussed many times, And, but again, I'm glad you're here tonight, so answer these questions. Tell us where we're at, and we'll go
I'll
there.
supplement what you have, and yes, we've got our help, Lee Walton and Claire Patrick are here from WSP, so we'll tag team some of this. They've done the heavy lifting in terms of the writing, hearing the meetings. You will recall Lee being at your last 2 retreats and listening to your input. So I would say if you want a number, we've been working on this for 2 years. The first year by design was to get your comp plan adopted, and you did. And the next one we knew was to develop the regulations that help enforce the things that you put in your comp plan. That's the way it's supposed to work. So that's what we're doing. Obviously, when you have change is hard for all of us. So that's what this is. It's about change based on the comp plan that we worked on 2 years ago. And yes, I think the fundamental question, because not only has the public been here, they've been in my office for several weeks, ever since the Planning Commission started to work on this. And I'm going to give you the fundamental question that, Mr. Chairman, you said that I've been saying. What do we want Upson County to be? Not 1 parcel, not 2 parcels, not 20 parcels, the entire county. What is your vision for the county? And obviously, we've got 5 elected officials who are going to put into words that implementation, that vision. So the first thing every citizen needs to ask, what do I want? Not my neighborhood, the entire county. What do I want the future of Upson County to be? Because this is what I hear in my neighborhood when we get a new house. Yeah, I'm from Henry County. I am so tired of Henry County. I want to come down here. I can get more land. It's more peaceful. Well, in 20 years, we could be Henry County, and they're sick and tired of the congestion in Upson County if we don't have a vision for what we want to be. Now, some people might like that vision, and some people don't. That's the nature of it. That's what's going to happen. So the fundamental question needs to start with, what is the future of Upson County, and what do we want it to be as a whole, as a public? Not just your parcel, but the entire county. Now, what we've done is, in terms of the approach tonight, again, process, public hearing tonight. We're going to have, the public has another opportunity. Your first meeting in November, we have advertised in the paper tomorrow. There'll be another public hearing. We're not done. So you've got 3 more meetings, 2 in November and in December, to decide whether you are going to finalize this.
So are you going to do more of this, or are you going to have more open houses?
We didn't plan, this was our second one, and we didn't plan on having another one. If I'm instructed to have a 3rd one, we'll have a 3rd one, but that's not currently in the plan. I want, as your county planner, I heard 2 messages out of all these meetings we've had for 2 years. I heard rural preservation, and I heard variety of housing. So I think a lot of the rural preservation is something that you're hearing about now. It's 2 acres to 12 acres. You know, I'll repeat this because a lot of visitors in my office, I'll tell you, I don't think 12 acres is enough if you truly want to preserve rural. If you want to preserve rural, it should be 20 or 30 or 40 acres. That will preserve rural. 12, we can debate it. And Mr. Chairman, you're right. It's just a matter of where, we were discussing with the public. I said, sir, it's just a matter of where you want to draw the line. We started with 25 acres in the draft moratorium ordinance. We're at 12. That was actually 12 was the number we've been discussing for a while. And maybe that number will change. You gentlemen are going to make that decision. So that can be changed. So in terms of process for going through the rest of this, Mr. Chairman, it's whatever you want to do. We can hit this, the big points. One of, I would say absolutely, you've heard the discussion, the biggest one. My office, basically there's one topic, and that's the change in the AR. I really haven't heard discussion of any others. I'll hit some of the other points that we heard tonight, which are first timing that I've heard some of these issues. But the major issues, and we can discuss these, or if you want to fine point them, are the AR down zoning. We have the new zoning district that you heard, and that's the rural estate, and that is a minimum of 3 acres. Contrary to some of the comments, in a way that we're being more relaxed if you adopt this, is the accessory dwelling units. The language that you told us about and the WSP has put into the language is more generous to building ADUs, accessory dwelling units, on your property. Now, there are some limitations, and WSP can go into those. They help draft those, but actually that's looser. Right now, we're pretty strict, and other than AR, you're not allowed to have an accessory dwelling unit. The draft that they put together allows you to have those in pretty much the rest of them, as long as you get the minimum acreage. So that's something that we could talk about. In terms of, again, rural preservation, We have now an option in the subdivision ordinance where you can have a conservation subdivision. And to keep it simple, that's where, okay, how many houses would I normally, under the zoning, be allowed? We're going to take all those houses, we're going to cram them off to the side or in a corner, and the rest of it's got to be conserved. It's got to be open land, undeveloped, maybe agriculture, depending on what language you put in there. But that would, again, go towards this rural preservation. Let's see, where we've made some changes, relatively minor changes in the subdivision. One of the things you may recall we talked about it 2 or 3 years ago, maybe longer, was these prescriptive easements that we have. Somebody comes in for the subdivision and there is a prescriptive easement for that road, but we don't own the right of way. So when they replat it, they plat it to the middle of our prescriptive easement. So there was some discussion at that particular time, well, let's go ahead and require that if you want your property subdivided, we're maintaining that road anyway, just donate it to the county so that we actually own it and it's not your property that we're maintaining. That's something I just briefly talked to the county attorney about, so that's something we can look at. That's a provision that was a major issue several years ago that we've now had the opportunity with this broad opening of the ordinances that let's make that change now, depending on what the county attorney's advice is. There are a bunch of minor changes, and I won't go through those now, but again, Mr. Chairman, that's what you want to do. If you want to go page by page, we can do that. You want to hit the big issues, we could even workshop some of the smaller ones. I mean, we'll take whatever questions you've got. The whole team here that has helped put this together, and obviously relied on a consultant. And for the public, the reason is I don't have time to do everything that needs to be done for the county, especially this heavy lifting like the comp plan and like these major changes. I got to have help. I can't do it all. So WSP is, they've been on board for a few years now, and they've helped us do that, and they'll continue with some of these heavy lift projects. All right, going to some of the comments that we heard. Number one, again, where did we come from? Where are we going? You'll correct my message. I heard two things. I heard rural preservation and some variety, and this came more of the comp plan and maybe some of our committees, a variety of housing types. So we've got these ADUs that change. Maybe you want something broader than that, maybe you want something narrower, but those were the two things we did. Yes, the rural estate, Mr. Chairman, as you repeated correctly, the minimum house size in this new zoning district, which hasn't been created yet, is a minimum house size of 2,200 square feet. Where did that come from? You have the R1 zoning. That's the number that's in your R1 zoning, which is an existing zoning district, which you've had since 1995. That's one of your original zoning districts. So it's not a new number. It would be new in the rural estate, and obviously it's your discretion what you want that number to be. But that number wasn't arbitrary. It was borrowed from the R1 zoning, which already
So to highlight the point you just made, so anybody coming in here right now going into R1, it's minimum 2,200 square feet.
Yes, sir. That's the largest one. The R1 is the largest minimum, 2,200 square feet. That's been true since 19.
What is R2? I'll talk to you.
R2 is 1,008. It's and R5 is, and the smallest one you have is R5. That's 700. So since 1995, you're allowed to build a 700 square foot. Now we have limited places that have the R5. We have limited places with the R1. Your most abundant, as you know, is the AR. That's probably 80+%. That's 1,008 square feet. The R2 is also 1,008 square feet. So these numbers are not new numbers. They've been long established. Now the rural estate, I would ask WSP if you want to have a longer discussion about that. There are a lot of additional requirements in the rural estate that are not traditional to some of our other zoning districts, and Mr. Walton's a lot more familiar with those. So if you want to go into depth on the rural estate, he can certainly help us with that. Poultry houses. Number one, there's no change in the poultry ordinance. So whatever was required in that ordinance is still there. And I'm sure that it's far more than, well, I do not know what the minimum was. We didn't touch that. That's not an ordinance we did anything with. So I'm not quite sure where that misinformation is coming from. But the poultry ordinance, farming ordinance we've had for 5, 6, 7 years now, and a lot of you, or most of you, maybe were on the board when we changed that ordinance. That doesn't change this, so I'm not quite sure what the discussion is there. I think there's probably some misinformation. There are a lot of revisions being made. I think there are 70+ pages that have a change on it. Most of them minor, but some of them, as we're discussing now, are major. Let's see.
The poultry houses are in
Sir,
Article 20.
you're out. We'll get to that.
And we do have backyard chickens, and we do have the.
Is that the distinction? Is there a distinction between poultry houses and chicken houses and
Well, the
poultry operations?
distinction is between backyard chickens and the industry. Now, as you know, we had a rezoning for a particular end of a street where we combined a lot of lots, and there was concern by the board that we were applying the poultry industry standards to that particular one. Yes, we were, because that's the only standard you have. If you want something that's between backyard chickens and commercial poultry houses, then we're going to have to create, that's another regulation we don't have, that you're going to have to.
So to the point that's being made is, I mean, so based on what you just said, so if it's poultry, I mean, that's.
Poultry by special exception.
Yeah.
So that mitigates all of that. Poultry's by special exception, they're gonna have to come here, they're gonna have to ask for it. Or we're gonna approve a poultry farm on 12 acres, or we're gonna approve a poultry farm on 50
But can you,
acres. Probably not.
but can you have your little hobby chicken farm back there?
Commercial poultry operation and.
So the difference is between commercial, you're selling chickens or you're selling eggs.
Right.
Right?
Well,
Yeah, but
and that was-
if you want to breed, if you want to have 50 chickens in your backyard,
If you live in AR, it's absolutely 100% fine, no matter if it's 2 acres or if it's 200 acres.
yeah.
Right. In AR, that's no restriction, and that was a lot of confusion when we had some of the earlier changes for the backyard chicken ordinances. The misinformation was, the majority of the information was out there was misinformation, so yes, sir.
Just let me provide a clarification.
Okay.
On Article 25, that was correctly mentioned, that's the location. Commercial poultry, swine operations. The current and previously existing requirement, minimum acreage for commercial poultry and swine, minimum of 10 acres, 10 contiguous acres, additional 5 acres minimum for every house, etc. So the proposed change with these proposed, as one of these proposed changes, is to increase that minimum from 10 to 12. So there is a minor proposed modification of that Article 25 from a minimum of 10 to a minimum of 12, just to clarify.
All right, but then every additional house, and obviously the larger ones, you're adding 5 acres per house anyway.
Correct.
As a minimum.
That's right.
So there's a lot of land required for that level. Now, what we can do, and I don't think we addressed this, is that recent case where they had, 200 or 300 chickens, but they were commercial. You know, yes, I applied the standards of that particular ordinance because that's what we have. Now, if you want to create another ordinance that deals with that in-between sort of operation, it's commercial, but it's not the commercial poultry houses that we're familiar with, then we'll have to redraft something that addresses still commercial, but something smaller than the commercial poultry houses that we have in the county now. So, but again, as you heard, every formal big house, we have a yard and 5 acres anyway. So that's not. I didn't remember that change, but it's relatively minor change. So that's the comments I had, Mr. Chairman. We can start front page to last page, or we can discuss these larger issues if you want to go into that. Again, you get another public hearing if you need more time to digest. It's whatever the Board of Commissioners would like to do. This is the team that wrote what you've got. So we're available to you right now, or
I personally like a little more time to study it. I mean, to help understand it. And I want to say this to the board members and staff and the people who are here. You know, we hadn't really had time to really digest this, so that's why we're having a public hearing. That's why we'll have another public hearing, and we do want your input. But I do want to make this comment about it while we're on the subject. I think we need to go back and we need to really look at it. And there's a lot, our intent here is, and I feel confident saying that, it is not to limit the rural areas, to protect it. And one of the reasons that I'm in favor of doing something other than what we're doing right now, because it is kind of the Wild West out there. And when you're in AR, things crop up in AR. I don't think there's probably anybody in this room at some point in their life hadn't dealt with this, that somebody's come along next to some property you owned or leased or did this and done something that you didn't really feel like was right, and or you had an issue with. And the way we deal with those type of things is you gotta have rules in order to protect that. Now, everybody's not gonna be happy about that, but it really boils down to this. We can sit here today and we do nothing. And we can watch mailbox after mailbox after mailbox goes up. And I heard several people in this room speak about wanting to be rural. I think we can all agree we want to maintain our rural character here. Well, if we sit here and we don't do nothing, if you don't think for 1 minute that these people are going to come in from out of town, because we got I said this before, I'm going to say it again, we got a good thing going here. It just took a while for people to figure it out. But now they done figured it out, they want to be here. And, you know, with those pine trees you see today and those pastures you see today are going to probably be houses in a few years if we don't decide what to do. And the other thing is, our intent here is not to tell you, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. Our intent says, okay, look, if you're going to do this, this is what we need to do. And my question to you is this, and I'm not expecting the answer because I don't want to get into the back and forth, I can't. But I'm just going to simply ask you this. Do you think a person in AR with 2 acres should have the same right as a guy in AR with 100 acres? Think about that just for a minute. Because that's the way it is today. The exceptions are commercial poultry operations, stuff like that. But if I had 2 acres and I wanted a cow and a horse out there, you could call the county all you want to. You can call the sheriff's department. Ain't nothing nobody can do. Just think about that. We're not trying to restrict your rights. What we're trying to do is we got to get this organized because it happens. If you don't think it happens, you know, it ain't in the paper. But I get these phone calls, and other commissioners up here get these phone calls telling me, I got pot-bellied pigs running through my yard tearing my bushes up. Okay, well, you live in a subdivision. Yeah, that subdivision was developed in 1970. Guess what? It's AR. What do you do then? How you tell a guy, well, ain't nothing I can do about your pot-bellied pigs?
Call the sheriff.
Call the sheriff. You know what the sheriff's
Because
gonna
it's
say?
agricultural.
What law are they breaking? So,
Yeah, and we ain't talking about 1 or 2. We talking about 25, 30.
right,
It's
so
a 2-acre lot.
and I know this sounds crazy, but there's a lot of stuff that just isn't public knowledge that we hear, we deal with. First and foremost, I make my money based off agricultural customers. That's one way I generate my living, okay? So I never want to, that'd be kind of cutting my nose off, spot in the face, right? The old saying. But we got to do something to protect this place. We got to protect Thomaston. I love Thomaston and Upson County, and I want to protect it. And I want my kids here, and I want to protect it for them. But we got to put some things in place, guys. We got to put some things in place. What that right answer is, it's going to take all of us to figure that out. And I'm glad you're here, because the only thing I would ask is come with passion, but don't come with anger. And I know you used to, look, we hadn't made a decision on this, and look, if we got to make you mad to get you here, then we got to do what we got to do. But we got to get you input. We got to get you here to get you to help make, because we don't want you to catch us in Walmart 6 months later and go, what were you thinking, you idiot? We need your input now. So help us help you. That's all I got to say.
Anybody else got anything?
Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
I think to address some of the concern that we heard tonight, I think it's important for us as staff to reiterate to the folks that came to the public hearing, this effort is not staff-driven. This effort was a culmination of really items added to our work session agenda 2.5 years ago. I can remember Commissioner Jones says, hey, under the work session, we need to talk about this minimum acreage. He said, and I was trying to remember exactly what he said, but it was something to the effect of, number one, we need to protect the people that are already here. And we're losing our forest land and our farmland. So, I mean, and that, again, what I think everybody should know is that we have done our best to listen to the vision that came through in all of the public engagement with the comprehensive plan, all the feedback that this board has given throughout, especially the last couple of years. Thank you for correcting me. Obviously, we were discussing this before we went into our comprehensive plan, we didn't actually start the process of trying to rewrite all of this stuff to implement some of these visions of the comp plan until about December of last year. But it has been a very long process, and I could rattle off to you every date where we had public input, or every date we had an open house, or every date we had focus groups, or
How many public hearings do we have at the planning commission?
You remember? 4, 5?
So,
No,
so to answer the question that was posed, I mean, did we sit up here and decide this? Absolutely. This has been vetted through the planning commission for quite some time. You know, so it's not 5 guys sitting up here pulling something out of your, thin air,
our extension agent. So talking about our focus groups from the comprehensive plan, I think one of the comments was, well, did we contact the ag community? Well, there was an ag focus group that was hosted by our extension agent, and I think Lee attended those meetings, and Doug, I believe you attended them too.
I didn't make that.
But so yeah, but that's just one of many focus groups we had throughout the process. So
Hey, can I say something to that? I was on that committee. I don't want you to think we're all, I mean, this is a big thing.
It is.
It's a lot of information. I was sitting on that.
I was too.
But nothing about this cutting out a minimum acres of land, all that was discussed.
Okay.
And that affects agriculture.
One of the comments I've also heard is that, this is just a county commissioner's ploy to raise taxes. That if you take a piece of land and it's zoned AR, and you make the owner now go zone it R1, or if we enact this rural estate zoning district, that we're raising the value of that property. No, the zoning that's attached to it does not raise the value of it. And now there may be a consideration in their big book that they're used, but what really affects the value is the size of the lot. The price per acre on 100 acres is a little less than the price per acre on 10 acres, generally. Right? If you go to Walmart and buy a 15-gallon container of laundry soap, you're going to pay a price per unit less than what you would pay for a gallon. And that's why people go to Costco, I guess, right?
What you said
So-
has been true last year.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
What you said about land value was true the last year. Larger tracts were bringing more per acre than smaller tracts.
I'd have to see.
Statewide.
I'd have to see an example of that.
We're sitting in the meeting when they put it up, Paul.
A developer's not going to come in and buy a 500-acre tract and break it down into 10-acre tracts and sell it less per acre than what he paid for it. I wouldn't think. But anyway, I'd be interested in seeing that. But anyway, anybody else have any thoughts or comments on this as we go forward? I would encourage more open houses, more, I know this stuff is on the internet. It's out there, on social media. We need this feedback. I can't imagine what it was like. Well, I can, because there wasn't social media back in 1997 when, the county commissioners enacted zoning. Was anybody in a leadership role in the county when they did that back then? Mr. South, were you on the planning commission or in 1997? Were you up here when they enacted zoning? That's probably even before your time.
Commission, I've
Right.
been planning and zoning 30 years.
So, yeah, that's right. So you were,
You were at my celebration, that's 30 years.
that's right. So you were
my cake.
you were there in 1997.
You ate my cake.
If I did, I didn't eat much. So was there a lot of consternation amongst the citizens when you enacted zoning in 1997?
I'm on the wrong side of the table to answer that question.
Why, you-
Pass it to somebody else.
Well, I suspect there would have been, had people, really been paying attention and looking at what the cause and effect of zoning is. If you look at zoning, you look in the areas where there is no zoning and see what's happening out there. we've got an example in our community where there is no zoning. And you look, I mean,
Where
If
is
you-
that?
Yatesville, there's no zoning in Yatesville. So, you go out there and look and see what's inside the city limits of Yatesville. Because, again, we're gonna grow, it's gonna impact us, it's gonna impact our schools, it's gonna impact our public safety, it's all the services that we as a local government are required and mandated to provide. So sit back and do nothing, or try to do something to preserve our way of life down here. You know, it's coming.
It's very fortunate, it's very unfortunate that we've had discussion for so long and we hadn't generated the interest that we have tonight. Even, you know, we are not gonna fix this thing tonight, we're not gonna do anything with it tonight, but the thing we need to do is to go back and listen to what they have to say and then have further discussion on it. We do need to listen to what the community got to say about it.
But, you know, and I think that as we talk about this, you've got to realize, I mean, what Doug said it. What do we want Upson County to be? You know, so.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know how we can make this happen. I don't know how we can make this happen. But I think that the problem we got is.
Excuse me.
I think that people grab some packets out here and they read some stuff, and they've, you know, they don't, you know, maybe they don't understand it, maybe they do understand it, you know. But I think what's going to help in a situation like this is, I really don't see a way to do it without it, is there has to be a way for people that have questions to be able to ask those questions and get an answer. All right, and if they read something and there's an explanation for what they read, if they can be explained why, what that actually means, and if it's different from what they're thinking, I think that'll ease some tensions. And it'll create a dialogue between the citizens that want to be involved. It's a pretty big undertaking, you know, but there's got to be some. I mean, because I think there's some things that's been said, been heard, been interpreted tonight that are not correct. That's obvious. We've heard that from some of those questions. So the only way you're going to get people to buy what you're selling is show them what you're selling. And so I think somehow or another we got to create something where these people can come in and they can ask questions. And I think that they had an opportunity tonight. I think we need to do that again. We need to have another hearing, and we need to have the people here that are here to speak about that, and bring some more people with you. Now let's get your questions answered so you can be part of the solution. Does that make sense?
Well, I would throw this at us. When can we have the next open house? You don't have to have that answer. And y'all don't need to be here. I mean, y'all done the heavy lifting. You've taken these thoughts and ideas and put them on paper. You know, and you've given us some concepts. I think we need another open house, and commissioners, we need to be there. We need planning commission there. I want the guys who you know, one of the things said, who thought this up? You know, let's be there and listen. But then I would ask people, you know, come with an open mind, because at the end of the day, you know, we're not everybody's going to agree, because believe it or not everybody agrees with everything you say. Trust me, I know it.
Can it be where people
ma'am.
at work can come?
Absolutely. We'll do the best we can. But again, you know, you can't, I don't care if we did 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, noon, 5, somebody's not going to be happy. So we'll do multiple. Let's have open houses. Let's sit up out here in the hallway, wherever, I don't care. And we'll do our very best to be there, just to be those ears, because, you know, you shouldn't, and it's a shame that this happens, but it's the world we live in, because everything's social media driven these days, and everything's all about what can I do to spark passion. You know, look at it as, you know, your role in how you're protecting what you grew up with. You know, how do we protect it? I can take you out to the road that I grew up on. It don't look nothing like it did when I went up and down that road growing up. It don't look nothing like it. So, you know, you can only go so far. And an individual's rights to do whatever they want to do on their land, you know where it ends? At the damn property line. Because you know what they do then? Who do they call? And some of you in this room have called me to complain about your neighbors. What's going on next door to you. So that's never going to change. I don't care who's sitting up here or whatever. So as we grow, as we get denser, because that's what's happening, as we get denser and more people move here, with people with different views than us, people who didn't grow up here, people, you know, that they're coming. So how do you protect what you have so that you can give a piece to your kids and then make sure they got enough to give it to their kids down the road, so that they can live the life that you were blessed with to live here, that you were blessed with to grow up here and have the opportunity to come back here, and for some of us to have the opportunity to come back here and make a little bit of a difference in making sure this community stays the way it is, and we don't wake up tomorrow and be Terra Boulevard. I'm trying to make light of this in a way because, I mean, how many of you can relate? Anybody trying to make a left-hand turn out of the Walmart parking lot lately? I go to the traffic light now. You can't make a left-hand turn out of Walmart. That's a country song there somewhere. You can't make a left-hand turn. And what I tell people, I said, you know when we're going to have a problem here? I mean, I see some of you here. I see you at the Cut Your Cupboard. You know, that's one of my favorite places. I'm there a lot. You know, look at how many times we see the traffic trying to get out of the Country Cupboard. You know when we're going to have problems when you got to sit through 2 traffic signals at Silvertown. You know, with Silvertown red light, when you got that much traffic out here. So it's going to happen. So, you know, but so do you let it just blow up and be everywhere? Or do you keep it condensed? You know, that, you know, residential, you know, we don't want spot zoning. You know, I mean, Rusty and I talked about that coming in here. You're going to have these little pockets of R1. You go out here and you say, okay, I want to give 2.5 acres to my daughter here to build her house, right? She can do that. But, you know, in our zoning mind, one of the things that we've learned and we've been beat over the head with is you don't want spot zoning. Well, it's going to happen in residential unless you, I mean, you know, you could have a couple of R1s over here where, you know, I don't know, pick on Mr. South for a minute. Anthony decides to go out there and give, you know, break up some of that out there and give all the grandkids a piece of the pie. Maybe it's not all AR, but, you know, just think about it 2 or 3 generations from now, what that looks like. You know, so this is a great conversation. Let's just.
How much would it cost for all these permits to make them changes? Why change it?
Well, you know, you bring up a good point, and it's been a discussion that's been had, you know, about permit fees. Let's look at permit fees. You know, what is it? I mean, we want people to do things the right way. You know, we encourage people to do things the right way. You know, and we
charge double for that.
You know, if you're not doing, I'm gonna say, if people aren't doing it the right way, there's a consequence. If you're caught doing it the wrong way, there's a consequence. You know, everybody should do it the right way. And we're not having a code enforcement conversation here, but I'll say the goal of code enforcement is compliance, to make sure that everybody's doing things the right way. And, you know, so with that, so does that sound like a plan going forward? More open houses?
Yes. Ultimately,
And my challenge to everybody on YouTube and everybody here and everybody out there on their Facebook pages and their Instagrams and their Snapchats and their TikToks and flip-flops or whatever, get out there and get people here and be open-minded to the conversation. We can disagree on philosophically disagree, but this is our home. Whether, I don't care if you moved here 5 years ago, 10 years ago, grew up here your whole life, this is all our home, and we want the same thing. We want to maintain our quality of life and don't want to wake up tomorrow and you know, have a mess on our hands. That's it. More open houses, county commissions, my challenge to you, my challenge to the planning commission, my challenge to anybody who gives a rat's you know what about this community. Come to these open houses and let's have a conversation and let's be open-minded. And don't come in here, I'm telling you, we're not shoving this down anybody's throat. But I tell you, I've had 8 years of the phone calls, and and there's nothing worse. The hardest, one of the most frustrating times is when you can't do anything. Well, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Just deal with it. You got a potbelly pig crapping in your garage. I'm sorry, man. That's it. We'll talk later.
Can I say something? You sitting here talking about as a community, you're trying to make a difference. But I'm gonna tell you, as a citizen, the way I feel like, not just me feel, that we've got people that are establishing these things that are not a part of this community.
Well, and I'll tell you this, your opinion of the staff, but you've made it perfectly clear with me over the years, your opinion of the gentleman you just pointed at, that's your opinion. And I appreciate your opinion.
Is he a part of our community?
Yes.
How?
I'm not discussing it.
He's not, he don't own
You know,
land here.
you made your opinion, you made your feelings very clear in your
He does
dealings
not
with
own
him.
land here.
And again, it goes back. So with that, is there
He does own it.
anything else? Okay, with that, gentlemen, next item on the agenda is the subdivision ordinance text amendment. The ordinance of Upson County, Georgia, to amend the code of Upson County to amend the Upson County subdivision ordinance to create a conservation subdivision option, to modify the flag lot standards, to alter the variance procedure for dead-end road length, to establish maximum new lot access to public roads, providing for repeal, conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. I think a lot of this was just handled. So, no one signed up for that. Is there a motion to open the public hearing? So moved. Is there a second? All in favor? Public hearing's open. We have no one signed up for that. Motion to close the public hearing? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Public hearing is now closed.
Mr.
So-
Chairman, before we leave planning in general, I just want to bring a point up related. I was contacted by the zoning director, the zoning administrator of the city, and the city is entertaining withdrawing and no longer supporting the Joint Planning Commission. So I was asked to just let you know that they're pursuing that in the next week or two. So I don't know how the board feels about that, but the city wants to back out and eliminate the Joint Planning Commission.
So basically, anything that's within, and just help me refresh my memory,
300.
anything that's within 300 feet,
A rezoning specifically.
A
Or an
rezoning.
annexation, which is the same thing, sort of.
well, obviously that's news to us, so, I mean, what's,
How does it impact our work?
how's that going? What's the potential there? What's the potential for conflict or whatever?
The purpose of that commission or council, whatever it was, and I'm just assuming that it's the same thought process we'd have now, is that there are certain issues that are so close to the border that either the county would want city input or wants to have input to what the city is doing and vice versa, because it's within that, and there had to be a number somewhere, so 300 feet was the number that was chosen. I think on the city side, there's been some objection that maybe they felt that the members of that commission were maybe overstepping what the mission should be, that they were being a little more wider than they should be. I can't speak. for the city, so
How were we notified of this?
Well, I was just notified of an email today.
So an email, so there's been nothing official, nothing's come from,
No,
we've
well-
seen nothing from the mayor.
The notification is.
Or the city manager.
I think public hearings and.
So is this joint planning commission created by ordinance?
I think it's by agreement.
Okay, so shouldn't we expect to have some sort of more formal thing than just an email?
I would imagine so, but
Did you say you just give us
Doug
a
had only
heads
mentioned
up?
it to me today, and I said, hey, let's remember.
Because
to let the board know.
I just remember the issues that were associated with the gentleman that came in and wanted to, they purchased that property and annexed that property to build those apartments out there. So if that were to go away, the county would have basically no representation in any discussion on that. Somebody could come in, buy it on the county city line within those 300 feet, and then the city just decide on their own.
It's less opportunity for public input.
And less opportunity for public input.
When the answer may be to provide better direction to this board, potentially,
Imagine that.
Yeah. Better direction and maybe change some of the members. But we gotta have people that want to be on these boards to submit applications.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that heads up, and there'll be more conversation on that. Okay. Gentlemen, next item on the agenda is public comments. We have none for general. Old business, consideration of special exception SPX 2024, TAC 05, applicant property owner Lori Weeks of Upson County requested Upson County permit an indoor-outdoor special events venue located on 5 acres of the 20 acres at 534 Locktown Road. Okay. Help me out here, Doug.
We continued it, we don't need a.
If the Weeks are here, you ask them to come back with the.
Right. We just continued it. We didn't, you know.
We did not, you had your public hearing.
Yeah,
Okay.
hearings are-
Oh, the Weeks here?
You just need your information.
There you go. All right. How y'all doing? So, you want to ask a question? You asked it last time.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think he probably already has answered my question. But basically, we did the public hearing. We don't need another public hearing. Basically, we just need he needs to come up, state his name for the record and address, and tell us what he wants to do, and then we can ask some questions from there.
So, I mean, I think we kind of have, come on up. I think we kind of have an understanding of what you want to do. It's just some of the concerns were having potable water down there, restroom facilities. I'm sure your wife went home and said.
She let me have it.
Okay.
You hung her out to dry.
You hung her out to dry.
She didn't even want to be here tonight, so I appreciate her being here. Jason Weeks, 534 Logtown Road, Gatesville. If I was just a half a mile in, I wouldn't even have to stand here.
Because there's no zoning in Yatesville.
Exactly. Just trying to, my wife and I want to do an event center. We have a 501c3 that supports orphans in Honduras. We want to do some things for that. Also weddings to kind of help us with retirement and all that kind of stuff. So that is our hope.
Okay, so the question was restroom facilities.
Yeah, so at first she mentioned porta potties. We're not talking about porta potties. We're talking about those nice trailers that are air conditioned. We don't have the money to do full on what we want to do right away, but we want to just get it started and get going. So eventually, I was telling Doug, we want to close it in and make it really nice and do restrooms. There'll be a bridal suite kind of thing there as well as the groom's suite as well. So potable, we want to do either a well or Upson utilities, preferably a well out there, Doug. And then, what was it? Oh, restaurant kill will eventually do septic tanks.
Yeah, because it's either a well or city Yatesville water. So.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Have you seen the restrictions that we placed on other venues, and you don't see any issues there?
Well, I mean, as far as restrictions, I think we just try to work around those, you know, because that's what you guys want to do.
One of the, you know, and one of the only conversations I've had about the venue is the people that live out there inside the city limits. I mean, you know, they say, hey, I live in the back of the backside of the city limits, but I can hit Roman strips up on 74. So they're a little concerned about the noise, and I assured them that we had 10 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
That all of the noise will be down, and that's the same restrictions we impose on.
Yeah, and I had a question last time about the lighting, and it was mainly because the special exception right before you guys, last time, the storage buildings, we discussed the lighting because some of his other facilities are really bright. So I was just kind of curious about what you may have as exterior lighting, and maybe there's some parameters that it's not crazy bright.
Not dug in that deep. To be honest with you, we're just trying to see if it's even an option before we really dig in. I would assume there would be some parking lights in a parking area because it is in a pecan orchard, which is the reason we want to do it there. I think it would be really neat to have in a pecan orchard, and so there's no lighting out there as of right now. So we would probably put up some utility lighting for where the cars would be parked, but everything else would be, she's bougier than I am, so it'd be nice, you know, fixtures and stuff like that on the inside.
Yeah, I would just, if it gets approved, I would just be cautious of how
Yeah.
bright these exterior lights are.
But as far, I mean, there's nobody within, Doug, I can't remember which we kind of talked about it. It's a long ways away, so I don't foresee the lighting being an issue, but I'll definitely keep that in mind for sure.
Okay. All right, well, gentlemen, just so you just remember, the planning commissions, they recommended, let's see, approval with the following conditions, and you've seen those conditions. They're the same conditions. It's, I'll just run through them real briefly then. Footprint of the event, include 5 acres of the 20-acre site. Venue events may include activities of weddings, cookouts, family reunions, and the like concerts, fairs, festivals, motorized vehicle events, or other events similar in impact are prohibited. Commercial firework displays are prohibited. Events are limited to a maximum of 300 attendees, excluding the staff. No amplified music or other amplified sound after 10 p.m. All parking must be on the applicant's property. When necessary, as determined in traffic volumes and backups, the owner or designee shall provide traffic control and coordinate it with the sheriff's department. Any loose trash must be picked up within 12 hours at the conclusion of the event. The owner shall pay the appropriate annual occupation tax. And the owner shall require that all vendors working on the property have paid their occupation tax, and copies of the vendor's tax certificates shall be available on-site inspection. It's approved for Ms. Weeks and Ms. Holston as the property owners and not transferable. And that's it. So is there, that was the planning commission's recommendation. So gentlemen, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the special exception with the standard conditions that the planning commission put on them.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, Ms. Jones.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. All right, good luck to y'all.
Thank you.
All right, item next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Gentlemen, you have the approval of the October 8th regular meeting minutes. I have a motion on tonight's consent.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
I was absent.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. All right, next, new business. Discussion and possible consideration of an agreement with the city of Yatesville to resurface Magnolia Drive and Magnolia Circle. Gentlemen, if you recall, several months ago, maybe a little bit longer, we got outreach from city council out in Yatesville. You know, they've got some issues with some streets out there. You know, they do benefit from the local T-Splosh to some extent. They don't get a lot of money. One of the things we talked about was if they partnered with us, then we would perhaps be able to help them get a better price for the amount of asphalt that they need. These are the 2 roads that they asked us to look at. I went out there with EMC Engineering, and we got everybody together, and Jason, that kind of sums it up, doesn't it?
That's it. So they're in exchange for, what are the exact quantities from our contract with Robinson Paving? In exchange for $68,597.51. So they'll pay us that out of their T-Splosh proceeds, and then, because we bid those items separately as part of that larger package. Our contractor will perform that work with their permission. So.
And there's a typo in this agreement.
Now, just a clarification, our legal team did not draft that agreement, the Yatesville legal team.
And we've already got one signed and sealed here.
It says court instead of county. It says court instead of county.
What paragraph, what line?
Well, it's hard for me to see, because it keeps moving on me. All right, let's see here.
The city shall pay to the
Whereas
sum.
the city shall reimburse the court for the cost of said improvements.
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah.
So since they've already executed, we could strike through that.
That was my next question. So, Mr. Attorney, can we just strike that line item and make that out, and then not have to go back through this again? Okay. All right. So there you have it, gentlemen. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. So I have a motion made and seconded to enter into this agreement with the city of Yatesville, where they will provide labor and materials to resurface Yatesville's Magnolia Drive and Magnolia Circle for $68,597.51. Hearing no further discussion, Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Congratulations to the city of Yatesville. Now, it's pretty nice, nice part of chunk of road.
Long time.
Yep, yep. Hopefully we can help them more down the road. Play on words there. All right, next item on the agenda is, we added this discussion of supporting Operation Greenlight for the veterans. Gentlemen, if you remember last year, this is a NACO initiative, National Association of Counties, where they seek to honor individuals who have served our country. And, well, y'all know me, I'm going to read some of this. Whereas Upson County seeks to honor individuals who have made countless sacrifices for freedom by placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. And whereas veterans continue to serve our community in the American Legion, Veterans Foreign Wars, religious groups, civil service, and by functioning as county veteran service officers in 29 states to help fellow former service members access to more than $52 billion in federal health care, disability compensation benefits each year. And whereas approximately 200,000 service members transition to civilian communities annually, and whereas an estimated 20% increase of service members will transition to civilian life in the near future, and whereas studies indicate that 44 to 72% of service members experience high levels of stress during this transition from civilian to military to civilian life, and whereas active military service members transitioning from military service are at high risk of suicide during their first year after military service, and whereas the National Association of Counties encourages all counties, parishes, and boroughs to recognize Operation Greenlight for veterans, and whereas Upson County appreciates the sacrifices of our United States military personnel and believes specific recognition should be granted, therefore be it resolved with designation as a green light for Veterans County. Upson County hereby declares from November 4th through Veterans Day, November the 11th, a time to salute and honor the services and sacrifices of our men and women in uniform transitioning from active service, and therefore be it further resolved that in observance of Operation Greenlight, Upson County encourages all citizens in patriotic tradition to recognize the importance of honoring all those who made immeasurable sacrifices to preserve freedom by displaying green lights in a window of their place of business or residence from November the 4th through November the 11th. Is there a motion on this resolution? Is there a second? Hearing no discussion, Ms. Jones.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder? Chairman Allen?
Yes. This is the second year this is the second year we have done this. I think it's the second year that our National Association has done it. It looked good last year. It's going to look even better this year. So, thank you. All right. The only thing left is the executive session to discuss real estate. So with that, we'll go into comments. Mr. Tinsley?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to yield to the county clerk, who's going to present an update on a project for you.
Uh-oh.
Before I get to that, I have a couple of other comments. The chamber banquet is November the 7th, so if you would, if you're planning to attend, if you would let me know so I can get your name submitted. I sent out calendar invites for October the 30th, November 5th and 6th for budget meetings. I need a little feedback so I can schedule times. I didn't put any times on them because I wanted to see what your schedule was before I did that. And then the joint meeting with the city is on November the 26th at 5 o'clock. And ACCG is having a regional meeting here at the Civic Center on November the 22nd from 10 to 12. If you want to attend, please let me know so I can get you registered. That was a lot of dates, I know, but
What was the date of that joint meeting with the city?
November 26th.
November?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And the other thing?
So Commissioner Ellington asked that we update our website with our boards and committees. And so we have been working on it, and nothing has been posted phase forward to the citizens yet, but this is kind of what it'll look like if you go to our boards and committees on the website. And if you click on them, it'll kind of give you a brief synopsis of what the board does, and it'll also give you the board members and the terms. So hopefully by 1st of November, I'll have it phase forward to the citizens.
Good. And I really appreciate that, because that was asked by several people, and and it helps. I mean, and it lets you know who's up, and it tells you, it saves you from answering a lot of my emails and phone calls too. Now if we can just get people to look at it.
That's right.
I'll put it out there.
Get people to apply.
We, just going forward, I mean, I know we've got some vacancies on the Board of Assessors, that we need help there. I mean, anybody's encouraged to apply for anything, but I know we've got several vacancies there. And, if anybody's interested in the Planning Commission, please apply. Anything, please apply. The criteria is going to be on this, so the sooner we can get it out, the better. Okay. If he's happy, I'm happy, because he's been beating me up about it. All right. So
That was all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Just Mr. Ainsley.
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Mr. Wild.
No, I just want to make sure that we reiterate to the people that are so passionate about this rezoning, come back at the appointed time whenever we decide to set up another open house where they can discuss that concern.
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones.
I appreciate everybody that showed up. It's something that's going to have to be discussed seriously, some of these changes we're going to make. And so I appreciate everybody that makes comments and finds things that, may hurt their situation in life, if you want to call it that. And get involved, and we're here to listen. We're not here to cram anything down anybody's throat. That's it.
Sorry. Mr. Ellington.
Oh, yeah, I just, especially me and the people sitting up here to try to do what the people want. So reach out to me. If you don't know how to get a hold of me, I'll be happy to tell you how to get a hold of me. Maybe not live on, which most people already know how to get a hold of me, but let's talk about it. Because I want to make sure, I want to tell you what my vision of it is, not the board, my vision is. And then you tell me what yours is, so let's try to find a way to get there. That's all I got.
Do you have a groundbreaking for Civic Center ball fields?
I was going to give an update on that.
I was going to save you for last.
Yeah.
Do we have a groundbreaking date? I know it was the end of October.
Yes.
Next week.
Yeah.
It's next week?
Yeah, so the update on that project, that was going to be my comments. I had a call with Schneider and the rec staff. They're going to mobilize on October 28th. The last ball game is the 29th, so work isn't going to commence until after that. And just to let the public know, they are going to have all the ball field work completed before the spring season begins, which is very critical. The concession stands, they are getting replaced. That's going to be ongoing while the season starts and is underway, because the timing, we haven't even approved that. So.
Okay. Yeah.
And I thank Commissioner Watson for standing in for me on that call.
Okay. Oh, if you haven't had the opportunity, go down to the Justice Center. They suggested that we ride by there at night to really get the wow factor. They've got it lit up. My question to Sam today was the flagpole, making sure that it's well lit, because I want to know if the flag going to stay up all the time, or are we going to have to take it down every day.
And straight.
I walked around. Be happy to know they're up there scrubbing and cleaning diligently. The parking lot's getting paid tomorrow, and to answer your question for earlier today, everything's on track, on time, and of course, under budget. So,
And I just want to press this on staff. Before we say move in, we need to be there. I would like to walk through the facility that we spent this much money on to make sure. And I think we all should be happy with what we get, and we don't just I want to trust but verify. I want to walk through and see it for myself before we say move in.
yeah, there's tons of finish work that needs to be done down there. There's blue masking tape, marking everything all over the place down there. But yeah, it's coming along nice. Citizens should be proud of what they voted to do and what they're achieving. So, all right. No other comments. We have executive session, and for Mr. Piper's benefit, I don't think there's going to be any action, but following the executive session, it's probably only going to take about 5 or 10 minutes. Don't think there's going to be. So if you want to hang out to make sure, or if you trust me to call you and tell you we did something, I'll let you know. But I don't think there's going to be any official action.
It'll be on YouTube anyway.
No, yeah, well, it would be. Yeah, unless we just terminate it. So with that, I need a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of.
Second.
You got that? Okay. Thank y'all for coming. I really appreciate you. We're still live.
Mr. Fowler.
Well,
Mr. Fowler.
I like chicken and wine. Sorry. Yes.
My number.
I don't think we edited that, but that may be currently adopted. Good catch.